How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another Mesozoic Media Park episode. Today, I think we should do something that I absolutely love, that being Prehistoric Park. So I actually already started some of the pre-production work of Prehistoric Park. I actually got the entrance over here. You know, this is the type of entrance that you can see in the intro where it says, "Welcome to Prehistoric Park." And then you're able to, Nigel drives through here. I also did create some blueprints of some of the fences that we can use. Here's the ornithomimus fence, and then this is like the larger fence over here. I'll probably have those on the workshop if it's something that you want to download. If they are on the workshop, here's the screenshots. So yeah, this is actually going to be a bigger one. This might be a longer episode as a result as well. I already have the creek over here. This is going to be Triceratops Creek. I want to create Theo the Triceratops, his enclosure. I want to create Terrence and Matilda's enclosure, and I want to create the ornithomimus enclosure. So this is going to be like a huge section. It's basically going to be like the little prehistoric park section, and I think it's going to be very fun to do. So let's get right into it. Okay, so Theo's enclosure kind of starts like on this side of the creek. So I might have to redo the creek entirely if I'm going to do this justice. On the little map that's provided in the Prehistoric Park book, it actually shows that the Triceratops enclosure is actually very close to the Tyrannosaurus enclosure. So that might be something I might be able to incorporate while working on this. First things first, though, I think I'm just going to start placing down all of the fences right here. We'll just get them all sectioned, and we'll try to figure out where we're doing things. Looks like I didn't need those after all. So what I can just do is I can grab onto this, and then I can duplicate it. So that's probably something I'm going to remove before I upload this to the workshop. In fact, I don't even know if I realistically need those stands at all. I am gonna try to make this look a little bit uneven, because if you actually look in the show, a lot of their fences are really kind of uneven. I don't want to do it too much though, because then it'll look kind of strange. But yeah, no, it's kind of interesting that this is like the material that they chose to make their enclosures out of. Now, like when I was looking closer at it, it is kind of like supported by some wood. It's not just, it is kind of supported by some metal. Like it has like a metal base and there's like metal sections. That's why I included it like this. But even at that, I don't know. The majority of it is made out of wood. So it's interesting that, you want to make like a dinosaur park that's completely made out of fences that are mostly made out of wood. Okay, so that's like the first little section right there. Oh, see, I don't know if I like that as much. There we go. And like, notice how they kind of dip down a little bit like that. Nice thing about Jurassic World Evolution 3 is that I'm able to do things like this. Yeah, now we have a whole section. So I'm thinking we'll put Theo's enclosure right here, like that. Kind of like this, sort of. I'm kind of thinking that it'll be a little bit, like, it'll be kind of this big. I don't want it to be too terribly huge. So obviously the river, or the creek rather, kind of runs through the enclosure off to this side. So I guess what I could do is something like along the lines of this. You can have the creek go all the way over here like that, right? I can also probably get rid of some of that vegetation too, so I can kind of clean it up a bit. Or maybe add some later. Who knows? Who knows what we're going to do? Like that. So we have like a little bit of a creek. There's also like this is an interesting detail to get caught up on, but there's like a little bit of a hill on the other side. Okay, like that. And I think it's kind of implied that Theo has a lot of space over here. I know that there's like a lot of trees over there as well. So I can probably fill this in with a lot of woodland, like so, right? And the woodland kind of goes around here a little bit, over here. And then there's like a decent amount of open space over here and a lot of vegetation on the ground, like stuff like this. So we can probably fill it in with, make it look a little bit better. And much like last time when I did Theo's enclosure, I need to include the tree that he was fighting with. So I'll also put more vegetation over here like that. I'll probably cut back on the trees a little bit because it's definitely a little bit more open over here like that. Okay, and then again I need the tree. It is a very small tree, that's for sure. Or a big tree, kind of, because if it's compared to a decently sized Triceratops, because he wasn't fully grown here, but he was still a decent size. Kind of looked like this, actually, and I can make it a little bit bigger. I think it could stand for that. like that, and then we'll place it right there. So yeah, that's the tree that Theo was fighting. You got all this open space over here. It kind of looks a little bit nice. I kind of like the way that this turned out, you know? Okay, so we have the whole perimeter. This is kind of like the entrance. I mean, you can't get into it on your own, but you know that's basically what this is. Oh, and I almost forgot. One of the most important things about this enclosure is the Triceratops tractor. I built the Triceratops tractor, and you can download it on the store, on the workshop. This was actually really difficult to pull off because I don't usually do things like this, but I really wanted the Triceratops tractor, so I made it. And it might be a little bit too small, but it kind of looks like an enrichment item, so I think it's kind of cool. So yeah, there's the Triceratops tractor. You can find it on the workshop. Here it is right here. And yeah, let's go and get Theo in here. Okay, I know that Theo is a male, but I don't. I'm okay. I'll make him a male. I'm not a big fan of the way that the male Triceratops looks in this game, if I'm being honest. Can I get some blue on you? That doesn't look very blue. Why doesn't that look very blue? I guess a little bit of blue right there. I'll make him a male just to, you know, keep it true to how he was in the game, but I'm not a big, I don't know. The curved horns are cool, if I'm being honest. Like, the curved horns are really cool. It's just like that frill is just really interesting. But, yeah, let's get Theo in there. Okay, so that's Theo in there, or he will be in there. Next up is Terrence and Matilda. Terrence and Matilda, of course, they have a history in the show where it's like they're at each other's throats all the time. Oh, and also I'm going to keep this whole huge section like this because I wouldn't mind adding like new creatures in the future. I'm holding out to hope that we will eventually get a Cenozoic pack, and then I can include Martha or something. Include Martha or include, saber-toothed cats, something like that. I think that would be kind of cool to have. Well, there he is. There's Theo. Just hanging out. I haven't been renaming them. I should be doing that. Theo the Triceratops, and he's definitely way bigger than the tractor. That's okay, though. Again, it's just like a nice little reference, I suppose. So Terrence and Matilda, I think I'm going to put them like basically right next to to Theo, because that's basically where they are on the map. They also do have like a giant hill in the middle of things. Just like my last attempt at this park, I think I'm going to separate their enclosure. I think, well, I'm debating on whether or not I want to have them as like little juveniles running around, or if I want them as adults. Because if I have them as juveniles, then I don't need a separation. But if I have them as adults, I do need separation. Let's do juveniles, because juveniles have been newly added, like they're new to this game. So like let's just take advantage of the fact that we can have juvenile dinosaurs and just put some juvenile tyrannosaurs in here. I certainly think that I might have made this a little bit too big. Because already we're kind of like taking up a little bit too much space. Well, not too terrible. Well, yeah, we still got a lot of space. As long as I'm a little bit like, as long as I'm smart with later things that we do, then it should be all right. So this is kind of like Terrence and Matilda's enclosure. They also had a lot of vegetation all over the place, so I'll go ahead and put that in here for them. I mean, the T-Rex, the Tyrannosaurs, they do have like a huge enclosure, so this is actually smaller than what their enclosure suggested in Prehistoric Park, but I think this is pretty all right. And I also know that there was like a lot of dirt towards the front, so I guess what we'll do with that, unfortunately we don't get all the paintbrushes, but I can have root-riddled dirt, like that, kind of have it sparsely up here. There was also another thing that they did in the show. And that was they kind of like had a little bit of a notch, went inside the enclosure and kind of gave them a little bit more like they can get a closer look at the Tyrannosaurs. There we go. That's kind of cool. You can come in here and you look at them as they run around all terrifyingly. Also get some of this surrounding it like that. There we go. kind of like that. I had to make a few adjustments here and there. That's certainly going to be really interesting to look through this and to see the little baby tyrannosaurs run around. Hopefully we get them up here a little bit more frequently, but yeah, okay, so we'll go ahead and get the little children in here. look at the size of that. That is actually really kind of terrifying. Look at this. Wow. Again, I do really like the horns though. The horns are really cool. Okay, well, while we're waiting for the baby tyrannosaurs, we could probably just get started on the ornithomimus. So I'm probably just going to place them over here somewhere. Obviously, the ornithomimuses, they do have a little bit of a pond going on. Realistically, I could probably just have this creek link up with the pond, can't I? Yeah, but then I'll just have like we'll do the pond. So they have like this huge area for a pond like over here. And we always see it from like two different angles, but I can never like, it's always difficult for me to gauge some continuity with it. So I guess I'm just gonna I'm gonna do whatever feels the best, I suppose. Now, the ornithomimuses, they do have, like, oh, eggs found, nice. Ornithomimus do have, like, smaller fences, which is something that I did, in fact, make. Here it is right here. One important thing to note is that it looks a little bit too tall right now. I couldn't make the posts any smaller, so what you have to do is something like this, in this ballpark, to try to, if you do decide to download it for yourself. That is one thing that I'll definitely give a lot of credit to Prehistoric Park for, though, is like its enclosures, they definitely felt real, I guess. Like it really felt like it was a bunch of people did really make these type of enclosures with how many imperfections were in them. It's something that certainly gives it a lot of charm. How many of you thought that Prehistoric Park was real when you were a child? I am not ashamed to say that I thought it was real when I was a child. I was like, shoot! This man actually went back in time and brought back dinosaurs and other extinct creatures. That is so cool. You know, that was. If I'm alone in that, then it's quite unfortunate. Well, no, I know for a fact I'm not alone on that. I've heard other people state that they did think that it was real when they were younger. Actually, I'm gonna go a little bit more further out here. Okay, so that's the the Ornithomimus pond. I definitely just had to include the ornithomimuses after they're new to this game, like they're one of the new creatures that were added, and they just look beautiful. So I definitely had to take advantage of the fact that Ornithomimus was in Prehistoric Park and is now in this game. What's crazy is that they look better in this game than they did in Prehistoric Park. Prehistoric Park is, of course, outdated. They're featherless. They're still a very cool portrayal, but they don't hold up to today's understanding of Ornithomimus. There we go. Give them a few trees. I don't think they have nearly as much as Terrence and Matilda and Theo, but definitely give them like some shade and whatnot. Give them an opening. I want this section right here to kind of look like this shot, I guess. I don't know. I don't know exactly where in the enclosure that shot takes place. Like, you don't see the pond in the background or anything, but here you do. But it's fine. It's meant to be all the same enclosure. Okay, so we can get some ornithomimuses in there. So in terms of the ornithomimuses, the females were kind of like a dull blue coloration, whereas the males had like a darker blue coloration. I don't know if I'm going to be able to pull that off exactly. Like, that's kind of fine right there. Dude, the males are a little bit vibrant right here. So I guess that does work out. Yeah, that works. Okay. We're going to get quite a few of them in there. A mix of both males and females. So it's like one male and then a male there. I'm so excited, guys. This looks pretty cool, too. Like, again, I wanted to leave some open areas in case Cenozoic creatures ever get added, so I can include Cenozoic creatures. But it's just the fact that we can now make fences that look like this, that is just so amazing to me. Like, I am so incredibly happy about that fact. This looks a lot like the fences that you would see in Prehistoric Park. Look at Theo run over there because he's all, sped up. And there we go. We do have little baby tyrannosaurs. We have a male here. 2 males, unfortunately. That's For it to be an accurate Terrence and Matilda, they have to be a male and a female. It's not a big deal because, of course, there's no differences between the male babies and the female babies. But, you know, it would have been cool if it was accurate to that. But we'll go ahead and get these guys sent over. They are the accurate colors, though. Like, they got the grays. That was pretty nice. I mean, because, of course, I made both the male and female. The mother and father have those proper colors. I feel like I could also do the Titanosaurs. Like, I can use Patagotitan. I mean, they were like Chinese Titanosaurs, so Patagotitan, of course, wouldn't be accurate in that department, but it would be cool to have. Of course, where would I put them? They mostly just kind of like walked around the park in Prehistoric Park, so yeah, I mean, I could have like just Patagotitans walking freely around the park as a reference to Prehistoric Park, like the whole park. I'm going to consider that. I don't know if I'm going to do it just yet, but that might be a fun idea. Our Land Before Time crew doing all right? Yeah, they look to be doing great. I'm having a lot of fun with this. This is just so fun in general. Sharptooth is looking okay. Looks like Terrence and Matilda have been delivered. There we go. Little baby Tyrannosaurs just running around. I don't know where the other one is. But yeah, there's one of them. That's so awesome. That is loud. Holy moly. Okay, so this section is not quite finished yet. There's still some things I need to do, like I want to finish up this wall. I'm not going to do that quite yet. And I want to like try to figure out a few more references that I could have to Prehistoric Park that I can cram into this little section. Because like the whole idea is that this is like the Prehistoric Park section, you know? So you get some dinosaurs from Prehistoric Park, and then you also get like a couple of references here and there. I just don't know what those references are quite yet. But with Jurassic World Evolution 3, they've definitely made this series a lot easier. Like, if that makes sense. You know, there's just the things that we can do is just overall very fun. Okay, almost all of the ornithomimosaurs or the ornithomimimuses are in here. That is so cool. I'm so glad you can make stuff like this now. Gosh, we needed this. We needed this. Modular building, we needed it. Helicopters are still loud. So we'll wait a second. Okay, I can hear myself think a little bit better. This is so cool, though. And what's crazy is, again, this is more accurate than Prehistoric Park's version of this ornithomimus flock because they have feathers and whatnot. It's so cool. This is so cool. Oh, man, can we see Terrence and Matilda real quick before we end the episode? See them once again walking around. It looks like I still need to clean up a few things about this enclosure, probably all the enclosures in general. But for the most part, I think we pretty much got it down. Like, things look pretty all right in my eyes. It looks like they're probably way off in the distance. This is probably pretty realistic. Like, for the most part, if you're looking at dinosaurs in their enclosures, you would probably have a difficult time seeing some of them. Again, some of this I think does need to be cleaned up a little bit, but that's okay. There's Theo over there. It's really cool stuff. Really cool stuff. So yeah, those were the 3 enclosures that I wanted to include for Prehistoric Park. I had a lot of fun building things like the entrance right here and all that. I've been having a lot of fun with this series this time around. It's definitely not nearly as frustrating as it was in Jurassic World Evolution 2, because Evolution 2, of course, it was far more limited in terms of what you can actually do. But in this game, I'm able to do awesome things like this with all of these rocks, things like this, of course, and I'm able to build my own fences, which makes making enclosures like the Prehistoric Park ones that much more like accessible, as well as just there's way more you can do. And the inclusion of baby dinosaurs was also incredibly awesome, and I'm so happy that they did that. So yeah, again, we're not done with this little area. It's going to be a really cool kind of almost tribute to Prehistoric Park because it's one of my favorite things. One of my favorite shows growing up, that's for sure. So there's probably going to be a few more things added here. But yeah, that's pretty much all we have for this one. If you guys enjoyed this video and you like dinosaur-related content, please consider subscribing. I would love to have you on board. And until next time, have an awesome day. From Theo.